The next stitch on our sampler is going to be what we call the back stitch. The back stitch is very strong. It's got a little stretch to it, and it's used in tailoring usually to sew sleeves into the armhole, or sometimes in pants it'll reinforce a crotch seam. We are going to be setting our sleeves in by machine, but in fine European tailoring, as we witnessed in our video, Men of the Cloth, sleeves were set in by hand. So this can also be used like a temporary basting stitch, for example on the collar and the lapels, and it kind of keeps the layers from shifting during pressing. This stitch also, so you know, can be used if your machine breaks down. If you can't get into the studio, it does kind of mock a lock stitch. So it's a very handy stitch to know and to practice. I have my needle threaded and a knot at the end, and I've also waxed it because this is a stitch where you particularly want to use beeswax because you're looking for the strength. This is going to mock a sewing machine's lock stitch, so you want to make sure it's nice and strong. You're going to start off by taking a stitch just like the last time, like the running stitch. Again, about 3/8 of an inch long. And now instead of going forward like you did before with the running stitch, you're going to come back. You're going to go back in the fabric right next to, not in the same hole as, but right next to, in this case where the knot is, and then you're going to come back out about 3/8 of an inch beyond where your last stitch came out of. So you can see the thread, it's going to straddle. The needle space is going to straddle where you came out the last time. So then I go again, I come back, sewing backwards. I'm going in right next to where the stitch was, and I'm coming out again about 3/8 of an inch past where the thread came out the last time. So see, now my stitches are together, there's no gap. So again, I'm going to come in next to the stitch, out beyond the last stitch, and I'll do a few more because I want to show you what the back looks like. So now if I flip this over, you can see there's lots of thread there. It's going to provide stretch, and it's also going to provide stability. So if I'm reinforcing a crotch seam or if I'm setting in a sleeve, I'm good to go as long as I keep those stitches relatively small. And then to end this stitch, you simply come into the back. So now this time your knot is going to end up on the other side. And then I'm going to make my loop, put my needle through to make my knot, do it again just to make sure that it's secure and it's locked, and then always, always trim my thread. And there's your back stitch.